Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sun and Moon Movesets video. Today's video is going to be all about the new Pokemon Kommo-o, so let's get started by taking a look at its typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Kommo-o is a new dragon fighting type Pokemon introduced into Pokemon Sun and Moon, and actually the first Pokemon, along with its evolutionary line, to possess this new unique typing. As for its abilities, the first two that it gets are both proofing abilities in the form of Bulletproof and Soundproof, each giving this Pokemon immunity to certain types of attacks, whereas Bulletproof gives you immunity to Ball and Bomb moves, such as Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball. Soundproof gives you an immunity to any sound-based attacks, such as Hyper Voice or Roar. Furthermore, this Pokemon's hidden ability is known as Overcoat, which allows this Pokemon to block the damage from Sandstorm as well as Hail, and also make this Pokemon not affected by powder moves such as Spore. But moving on to its stats, Kommo-o is in possession of some pretty great bulk, possessing a base 75 HP, 125 physical defense, and base 105 special defense stat, allowing this Pokemon to effectively take physical and special hits very well. And when you consider these great stats in combination with its dragon fighting typing, which has a ton of resists, and the bulletproof or soundproof abilities, giving this Pokemon immunity to a variety of attacks, you essentially are able to switch in Kommo-o on a ton of different Pokemon safely and proceed to potentially either wall them or damage them with your great physical and special attack stats being base 110 and base 100 respectively. As for its speed stat though, this Pokemon is a little bit on the slower side of things when comparing it to other Dragon-type Pokemon that can fill a similar role on your team with its base 85 speed stat. However, it also does have a bunch of ways to boost this stat as well as boosting its offensive stats, giving it a ton of variety in what it can do for your team and making it a very unpredictable Pokemon to be up against. But with that, let's take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to begin by giving Kommo-o either a Jolly Nature to boost its speed but lower its special attack, or an Adamant Nature to boost its physical attack but lower its special attack, and then going either with the Bulletproof or Soundproof abilities in their abbreviated form of B-Proof and S-Proof for purposes of formatting on this video. But for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its physical attack to max that out, 4 into its special defense, and then 252 EVs into its speed stat to max it out as well, to make this Pokemon as powerful on the physical side and as fast as possible. As for the item, you have a few choices between a Choice Band to boost your physical attacks while locking you into a move, a Choice Scarf to also lock you into a move but boost your speed, a Life Orb to allow you to use your moves freely but damage your opponents at the cost of losing 10% of your health every time you hit them, an Expert Belt to boost the damage of super effective moves, an Assault Vest to boost your special defense even further, Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover HP at the end of every turn, a Lumberry to use in combination with the move Outrage on the set, which is an offensive attacking dragon type option, which you'll see in a second, or making use of a Z Crystal that corresponds to one of the types of attacks on this set to give you a one-time super powerful attack of that type. But for the moves, the first one that we're going to go with is going to be our main stab dragon type attack in the form of either Outrage or Dragon Claw. Outrage obviously being the stronger option, but it will lock you into this move for 2 to 3 turns and confuse you at the end of it, whereas Dragon Claw is much weaker, however it doesn't have all of those side effects that Outrage does have. Moving on to your fighting stab though, we're going to go with Sky Uppercut, as this is the strongest physical fighting type move this Pokemon has access to, and then for coverage versus fairies, which is sorely needed for this Pokemon due to the fact that it has a 4 times weakness to fairy type attacks, we're going to be going with Poison Jab to allow us to hit them super effectively and also potentially have a chance to poison opponents, as it does have a 30% chance to do that. Finally, for the last move on the set, we're either going to run Earthquake, X-Scissor, or Rock Slide to give this Pokemon additional physical type coverage to allow it to hit even more things super effectively than it can already do with the 3 moves that we already have on this set. Similarly, we can also run a special attacking set, much like the first one for this Pokemon to make use of. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Timid or Modest Nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack, or boost its special attack but lower its physical attack, going again with either the Bulletproof or Soundproof abilities, and then running an EV spread of 252 special attack EVs, 4 special defense EVs, and 252 speed EVs. As for the item on this set, we're either going to go with Choice Specs to considerably boost your special attack while locking you into one of those moves, a Choice Scarf to boost your speed and also lock you into a move, a Life Orb to boost the damage of all of your attacks at the cost of losing 10% of your health every time you damage your opponent, but being able to use your moves more freely, unlike on a choiced set, an Expert Belt to boost the damage of super effective moves, an Assault Vest to boost your special defense even further, Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover HP at the end of every turn, or again a Z Crystal to correspond with one of the types of attacks on this set to give you a one-time super powerful move of that type. But for the moves, since we're going special on this set, we're going to begin by giving it its signature move, Clanging Scales, which interestingly enough is a sound-based attack, but it is a base 110 Dragon-type move, which is a little bit weaker than Draco Meteor. However, instead of lowering your special attack by 2 stages, it just lowers your defense by 1 stage, similar to Hyperspace Fury when using a Hoopa. But in addition to this, we're also going to run a fighting-type stab attack in the form of Focus Blast, and then we're also going to give this Pokemon additional coverage in the form of Flash Cannon to allow it to hit Fairy types super effectively. Finally, for the last move on the set, we're either going to go with Flamethrower, Hidden Power Ice, or Hidden Power Grass to give this Pokemon some additional type coverage, allowing it to hit various things super effectively and deal with a plethora of defensive and offensive Pokemon that could potentially be on your opponent's team. Now, drawing elements from the previous 2 sets, there's also a very effective mixed offensive set you can run for Kommo-o. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Hasty Nature to boost its speed but lower its physical defense, and then run an EV spread of 196 attack EVs, 60 special attack EVs, and 252 speed EVs. As to the item, this time we're either going to go with a Life Orb to boost the damage of all of your attacks by a decent amount to allow you to easily 2-hit KO or 1-hit KO a ton of different things on your opponent's side of the field, or make use of a Z Crystal to allow this Pokemon an easy way of dealing with 1 or 2 specific Pokemon on your opponent's team that you could easily take out with a very super powerful Z move that you choose based upon the moves on the set. But for the moves, the first thing that we're going to go with for this moveset is going to be Sky Uppercut, which is going to be your main fighting type attack and also a physical move to make use of, which will allow this Pokemon to effectively deal with things like Heatran or Chansey that your opponent could have on their team. Then, for the second attack, we're going to actually make use of a special dragon move in the form of Clanging Scales, which when used in combination with Sky Uppercut, give this Pokemon some pretty insane coverage and allows it to damage a lot of things that would normally wall off the physical set, such as Quagsire, which is very easily 2-hit KO'd by Clanging Scales. But moving on to the third move, we're either going to go with Hidden Power Ice or Poison Jab to give this Pokemon some additional type coverage versus some pretty common Pokemon you might see, Hidden Power Ice being effective against things like Landorus and Gliscor, whereas Poison Jab is very effective against a lot of fairies that would easily want to switch in on this Pokemon, and with a Life Orb, you are actually pretty easily able to 2-hit KO Clefable, even with the not max attack investment, which is really awesome to keep in mind. So if you make a really good prediction there, that move can come in handy. As for the last move though, we could either run Flamethrower or Poison Jab to give this Pokemon, again, some additional type coverage. Flamethrower giving it a little bit of an easier time dealing with things like Ferrothorn and Skarmory and also Scizor, whereas Poison Jab, again, will be really effective versus the Fairy type attackers that are going to want to easily come in and take your stab attacks. Now moving on to the plethora of movesets that this Pokemon can run that specialize in boosting its stats, we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Jolly or Adamant Nature, again, like the first moveset to boost your speed and lower your special attack, or your physical attack but lower your special attack, and then run a physically offensive EV spread of 252 physical attack EVs, 4 special defense EVs, and 252 speed EVs. As to the item on this set, we can either run with a Life Orb, an Expert Belt, a Lemberry, or a Z Crystal, again to correspond to one of the types of attacks on your set. For the moves though, this time, the main thing that we're going to be looking at is really the last move slot that I've listed here, which is going to be one of the boosting moves this Pokemon can make use of which there are 4 to make use of on a physical set. The first being Swords Dance to boost your physical attack by 2 stages, the second being Rock Polish to boost your speed by 2 stages, the third being Dragon Dance to boost your physical attack and your speed by 1 stage, or the last being Belly Drum to boost your physical attack to its maximum level and allow this Pokemon to do insane amounts of damage with its physical attacks. All of these options are extremely viable and very useful and allow this Pokemon to be threatening in a number of ways, so it's really whichever one you want to go with that will make this set into what you need it to be. But again, the move options are going to be very similar to the first set, with Outrage and Dragon Claw being listed as your main stab dragon type move, Sky Uppercut being your main fighting type move, but also including Earthquake as an option here since they have similar coverage, and then again running Poison Jab to allow this Pokemon to effectively deal with Fairy-type Pokemon. But along with just using one boosting move for a set, this Pokemon can also effectively make use of 2 boosting attacks to make it even more threatening and allow it to be tailor-made to damage the types of teams that you might be up against. So again, we're running with just the same physical spread that we saw in the previous set, but the move options are really going to change up quite a bit here. The first option here is going to be either Rock Polish or Dragon Dance, mainly for allowing this Pokemon to boost its speed. Then the second option is going to be either Swords Dance or Belly Drum to allow this Pokemon to boost its physical attack. Now, both of these moves in combination with each other aren't necessarily meant to be used on the same moveset in the same battle, but rather to make your team a little bit more diverse. Meaning that if you're up against a team that has a lot of fast attackers, going with Rock Polish will just be good enough and you could outspeed them and make use of your attacks. Whereas on another set team, if you're fighting a lot of stally Pokemon, Belly Drum can be the perfect option, and that's all you'll need because you'll be faster than everything in general because usually more bulky teams don't have a ton of speed on them. And this effectively allows the set to be incredibly versatile and very effective at dealing with a variety of things. So in order to make this even more effective, we're going to only run 2 attacks on this set, and this really determines what this Pokemon can be effective against. We're always going to include Outrage or Dragon Claw to be your main stab dragon move, but your second attack is either going to be Sky Uppercut, Earthquake, or Poison Jab to give this Pokemon some additional coverage. And it really is dependent upon what other members of your team you have to support this particular Kommo-o. So going with Outrage or Dragon Claw and Sky Uppercut will make this Pokemon pretty easily walled by fairies, so you might want to pack like a Steel type or a Poison type on your team to help deal with them. Whereas Earthquake will give this Pokemon a little bit of trouble versus things like Skarmory and other physical walls that can really deal with this combination pretty easily, and Poison Jab will allow this Pokemon to not really be very effective versus a lot of Steel types, but allow it to beat the Fairy types that it would normally be weak to. So all of these options really allow this Pokemon to do different things, and it's really based upon team support. However, running 2 boosting moves can make the set very dangerous and allow you to basically rip through a team depending on if it's going to be more offensive or bulky. As for a more special boosting set, we're going to start this one off by giving it a Timid Nature to boost its speed but lower its physical attack, or a Modest Nature to boost its special attack but lower its physical attack. And then going with a specially offensive EV spread of 252 special attack EVs, 4 special defense EVs, and 252 speed EVs to max out its special attack and speed. As for the item, we're either going to go with a Life Orb, an Expert Belt, Leftovers, or a Z Crystal on this set. But as for the moves, on this set, the main thing that you're going to have to choose between is either going with Rock Polish or Work Up to be your boosting move. Rock Polish, as mentioned before, boosting your speed by 2 stages, whereas Work Up will boost your physical attack, but more importantly, boost your special attack, allowing you to do even more damage with your special moves. And for those moves, again, we're going to go with Clanging Scales to be your main stab special dragon type attack, and then going with Focus Blast to be your main stab fighting move, or going with Flamethrower as it does provide similar coverage that Focus Blast provides and doesn't have the accuracy problem that Focus Blast can. And then lastly, going with Flash Cannon, again to give this Pokemon a reliable way to deal with the Fairy type attackers that can easily switch in on your stab attacks. But moving on to a moveset that really sets this Pokemon apart from other Pokemon that really fill a similar role on your team, we're going to begin this one by giving it a Careful Nature to boost its special defense but lower its special attack, and then make use of an EV spread that includes giving it 244 HP EVs, 212 special defense EVs, and 52 speed EVs to give it some pretty great special bulk and also give it enough speed to outspeed defensive Landorus T. As for the item, since this is a more bulky set, we're going to be making use of Leftovers to allow us to recover HP at the end of every turn. And to increase our defensive capabilities even further, as well as our offensive ones, we're going to be going with Bulk Up as the first move on the set to boost your physical attack and your physical defense by 1 stage every time you go for it, which is a move that most other Dragon-type Pokemon do not have access to. Then, along with this, we're going to run a Stab Dragon-type physical move in the form of either Dragon Claw or Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail being included this time since it's a more bulky set, so we can benefit from the fact that we are going to be able to phase things out with this move, and also the fact that its negative priority isn't too big of a hindrance because we're not running a lot of speed. But for your second attack, we're either going to run Sky Uppercut or Earthquake to give this Pokemon some additional type coverage, and then for the last move slot, run Substitute or Poison Jab to give that additional type coverage versus Fairies, or a way to get behind a protective barrier to shield you from attacks and statuses and make your setup job a lot easier, but basically because of this Pokemon having such a great bulk with the special defense EV investment and the boosting of your defense through the bulk up move. But overall, I think this is one of the best sets that this Pokemon has access to, and I would not be surprised in the future if this Pokemon got access to Drain Punch to even increase its effectiveness further. As for this last moveset, we're going to be giving Kommo-o a bit more of a utility role in the battle. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either a Careful Nature to boost its special defense but lower its special attack if you want to go with the physical offensive options on this set, or a Calm Nature to boost its special defense but lower its physical attack if you want to go with the special options on the set. But for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its HP stat, 96 into its special defense stat to boost that up a little bit, and then put the remainder 160 EVs into its speed stat to make this Pokemon considerably faster and allow it to outspeed things that are past the base 100 speed threshold that we would want to prevent from using any non-attacking moves through the use of the first move on the set in Taunt. It's also important to note though that for this set we're going to be making use of leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover HP at the end of every turn. But along with Taunt, we're going to be making use of one stab fighting type move, either in the form of Sky Uppercut if you want to go the physical route, or Focus Blast if you want to go the special route. Furthermore, we're also going to run a Dragon type attack in the form of either Dragon Claw or Dragon Tail for the physical route, or Clanging Scales or Dragon Breath for the special route. Dragon Breath being a new move listed on this set, not a new move in the game, but a new move that I'm showing you, that has a chance to paralyze your opponents, which can be very useful in increasing this Pokemon's utility on a more defensive moveset. Finally, for the last move, we're either going to run Poison Jab for the Great Fairy coverage, Hidden Power Ice for that additional coverage versus those ground and flying type Pokemon like Landorus that you see so commonly, Toxic as a way to poison opponents and slowly wear down their HP at the end of every turn, or Rest to allow this Pokemon to recover its HP up to full and get rid of any statuses that might have been received, hopefully being paired potentially with a Pokemon on your team that has access to Heal Bell or Aromatherapy, or just trying to wake up naturally, making use of this Pokemon's pretty great resistances and good defensive stats. But anyways everybody, that is it for this video on one of the most versatile Pokemon introduced into Pokemon Sun and Moon. So I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.